Welcome back. In this video, we will get into the depth of abstract writing. We will begin with understanding what exactly an abstract means and the significance of writing an abstract. Then, we will move to the expected length of an abstract and get to know when is the most appropriate time to write it. This will be followed by types of abstracts and the necessary details to include in it. Finally, we will look up a few abstract formats and some tips for writing the most effective abstracts. Let's begin. Abstract is meant to preview the bigger document. It is a self-contained summary of a larger work, such as research and scientific papers or general academic papers. This helps readers and other researchers find what they are looking for and understand the magnitude of what is being discussed. We can compare the abstract to the trailer of a movie, which decides whether or not someone becomes interested in your work. Purpose of writing an abstract. Like I just mentioned, the main purpose of writing an abstract is to help people decide whether or not to read the entire academic paper. After all, titles can be misleading and don't get into specifics like methodology or results. Imagine paying for and downloading a 100-page dissertation on what you believe is relevant to your research, only to find out that it is about something totally unrelated to what you were looking for. Likewise, abstracts can encourage financial support for grant proposals and fundraising. If you lack the funding for your research, your proposal abstract would outline the costs and benefits of your project. This way, potential investors could make an informed decision or jump to the relevant section of your proposal to see the details. Another benefit of abstracts is that they're incredibly useful for indexing. They make it easier for researchers to find precisely what they need without wasting time skimming actual papers. And because abstracts sometimes touch on the results of a paper, researchers and students can see right away if the paper can be used as evidence or a citation to support their own thesis. Nowadays, abstracts are also important for search engine optimization, namely for getting digital copies of your paper to appear in search engine results. If someone Googles the word used in your abstract, the link to your paper will appear higher in the search results, making it more likely to get clicks. Now that we have a basic idea about what an abstract is, it is important to keep in mind that it shouldn't be too lengthy. Abstracts are typically 100 to 250 words and comprise one or two paragraphs. However, more complex papers require more complex abstracts, so you may need to stretch it out a little to cover everything. It is not uncommon to see abstracts that fill an entire page, especially in advanced scientific works. The next question that arises is when to write your abstract. Since it is sort of a preview of the entire research paper, it is advised that you write it after the paper has been fully drafted. This way, you are well aware about all the contents of the paper and are ready to jot down the significant points. Abstracts are broadly categorized into informative abstracts and descriptive abstracts. Informative abstracts discuss all the need-to-know details of your paper, like its purpose, scope, the methods used, results, and conclusion. They are the go-to format for scientific and research papers. These abstracts attempt to outline the entire paper without getting into the specifics. They are written for quick reference, favor, favor efficiency over style, and tend to lack personality. On the other hand, descriptive abstracts are a little more personable and focus more on enticing readers. They don't care as much for data and details and instead read more like overviews that don't give too much away. Think of descriptive abstracts like synopsis on the back of a book. Because they don't delve too deep, descriptive abstracts are shorter than informative abstracts, closer to 100 words, and in a single paragraph. In particular, they don't cover areas like results or conclusions. You have to read the paper to satisfy your curiosity. Since they are so informal, descriptive abstracts are more at home in artistic criticisms and entertaining papers than in scientific articles. Here comes the most important part, the things you need to include inside your abstract. Introduction. The beginning of your abstract should provide a broad overview of the entire project, just like the thesis statement. You can also use this section of your abstract to write out your hypothesis or research question. In the one or two sentences at the top, you want to disclose the purpose of your paper, such as what problem it attempts to solve and why the reader should be interested. You will also need to explain the context around it, including any historical references. Methods. This section covers the methodology of your research or how you collected the data. This is crucial for verifying the credibility of your paper. Abstracts with no methodology or suspicious methods won't be taken seriously by the scientific community. If you are using original research, you should disclose which analytical methods you used to collect your data, including descriptions of instruments, software, or participants. If you are expounding on previous data, it is a good place to cite with which data and from where to avoid plagiarism. Results. For informative abstracts, it is okay to give away the ending. In one or two sentences, summarize the results of your paper and the conclusive outcome. Remember that the goal of most abstracts is to inform, not entice. So mentioning your results here can help others better classify and categorize your paper. This is often the biggest section of your abstract. It involves most of the concrete details surrounding your paper. So don't be afraid to give it an extra sentence or two compared to the others. Discussion. The discussion section explains the ultimate conclusion and its ramifications. Based on the data and examination, what can we take away from this paper? The discussion section often goes beyond the scope of the project itself, including the implications of the research or what it adds to its field as a whole. You may include a few other things in your abstract like keywords, which list out the topics discussed in your paper so interested people can find it more easily, especially with online formats. You can also mention ethical concerns if in case your research deals with ethically gray areas, that is testing on animals, you may want to point out any concerns here or issue reassurances. In general, abstracts are pretty uniform since they are exclusive to formal documents. That being said, there are a couple of technical formats you should be aware of. The American Psychological Association or APA format. This association has specific guidelines for their papers in the interest of consistency. A few specifics mentioned in the 7th edition publication manual have been mentioned on the slide. Your text should be double spaced. The margins must be set at 1 inch, that is 2.5 centimeters. The word abstract should be at the top of the page, center aligned, and in a bold font. The very first line should not be intended. The entire abstract should not be composed of more than 250 words. Lastly, include a running header and page numbers on all the pages, including the abstract. The next abstract format, which we will be discussing, is structured abstracts. Structured abstracts are a relatively new format for scientific papers, originating in the late 1980s. Basically, you just separate your abstract into smaller subsections and label them accordingly. The idea is to enhance scalability. For example, if readers are only interested in the methodology, they can skip right to the methodology. The actual writing of structured abstracts, though, is more or less the same as traditional ones. Unstructured abstracts are still the convention though, so double check beforehand to see which one is preferred. I will end this video by giving you all a few expert tips for writing abstracts. Abstracts are meant to be self-contained, autonomous works. They should act as standalone documents, often with a beginning, middle, and end. The thinking is that even if you never read the actual paper, you will still understand the entire scope of the project just from the abstract. Keep in mind when you write your abstract, it should be a microcosm of the entire piece with all the key points, but none of the details. Write the abstract in the end. Because the abstract comes first, it is tempting to write it first. However, writing the abstract at the end is more effective since you have a better understanding of what is actually in your paper. You will also discover new implications as you write and perhaps even shift the structure a bit. In any event, you are better prepared to write the abstract once the main paper is completed. Abstracts are not introductions. A common misconception is to write your abstract like an introduction. After all, it's the first section of your paper. However, abstracts follow a different set of guidelines, so don't make this mistake. Abstracts are summaries designed to encapsulate the findings of your paper and assist with organization and searchability. A good abstract includes background information and context, not to mention results and conclusions. Abstracts are also self-contained and can be read independently of the rest of the paper. Introductions, by contrast, serve to gradually bring the reader up to speed on the topic. Their goals are less clinical and more personable, with room to elaborate and build anticipation. Introductions are also an integral part of the paper and feel incomplete if read independently. With this, we have come to the end of today's video. I hope that you found it insightful. Thank you.